How's it going, everybody? Mike Marino here, presenting for CIS 3367, Professor Wheeler. And today I'm going to be presenting to you guys an income statement analysis. Although it doesn't look like your average or income statement, it's a representation of one. So without further ado, let's get started. The basis of this presentation is actually to help my friend out. He owns an entertainment company, provides services for sweet 16s, bar mitzvahs, weddings, corporate events, you name it, he does it. And he owns this entertainment company. He's owned it for quite some time, and he asked me about a month or two ago to give him some guidance and some recommendations about what he should do in his current situation that he's in. And that situation is that he currently deals with certain vendors to provide him with certain items or performers that he needs for events that he's hosting, but a new vendor has come in contact with him and has asked him if they wanted to do business with the new vendor. Different incentives, different pricings. So he wanted to know, okay, if I went with the new vendor, or if I stuck with the vendors I have now, how many parties do I need to book in order to reach a $100,000 goal for the year? And if you went with, let's say, the new vendor, how many more parties would he have to book with his current vendors in order to reach the same annual profit if he were to go with the new vendor? So that's what's going on here. And just to get into the spreadsheets real quick, I'll explain what's going on here. So we could see that we have package 1, package 2, and package 3. Package 3 has not been implemented yet, so we're not going to focus on that right now. And what I mean by that is he's waiting for my recommendations before he implements package 3. So these are the two packages that he currently offers to his clients right now. And the reason that he offers them in packages is because he doesn't want special discounts or favoritism for every new referred client that he has. So if he has a client that comes in and says, oh, I was referred to by Susan, so you did a great job, but she only paid $2,000 and I'm not willing to pay anything more than that, well, now he's already in a position where he has to abide by that situation. He needs to offer this new client at least what the old client has paid. And this can, be detrimental to the business. You can really start cutting in on your profits and playing favoritism. And now, before you know it, you're charging, 50% less than what you should be charging. So that's the reasoning behind offering these items or performers and packages. So for those of you who aren't familiar with the industry, for each event, there's items and performers that are provided to the client by the entertainment company. And we have DJs, MCs, dancers, and so on, as you can see. And every item or performer within each package has a predetermined quantity. So for package 1, you're getting 1 DJ, 1 MC, 1 dancer, and so forth. We have revenues, or how much the company is charging the client to have each item or performer. We have expenses, or how much it's going to cost the entertainment company to provide the item or the performer for the client, and then the profit that they make on each item or performer. These are percentages of profit to revenue. And down here, we have the totals. Totals of revenue, expenses, profits, etc. Also, we have each package is based off of how many guests are going to be attending each party. Usually the more guests you have, the more items or performers a client is willing to pay for. And the maximum amount of time that each package is going to perform for. So package 1, you can only pay for 3.5 hours. Anything after that, you're probably going to have to go on to a new package. We have the annual bookings per package. And we have the annual profit that this package is making per year. So we're looking at all these colored cells, and I want to just briefly explain what's going on with that. So anything in orange that you see here is a manual input of data. So for package 1, it's been determined by my friend that he's only supplying one DJ, one MC, one black booth, etc. Anything in green is a calculation. So for example, he determines the amount of dancers that he's going to provide for each package based off of the amount of guests that are going to be attending the party. So for instance, for package 1, he's taking 2% of the guests, which rounds off to one dancer. Same goes for the package 2, which you see 2% of the guests for this package, which is 100 max, which rounds off to 2 dancers, and so on. So orange, manual inputs, green are calculations. And as I mentioned before, he wants to know how many parties he needs to book in order to reach this $100,000 annual profit goal. So everything in blue are the variable cells that I have actually put into Solver to help me out with that. So a little introduction to Solver and how I used it to solve this problem. As you can see here, we're on a 3rd tab, and as I mentioned before, package 3 has not been implemented yet because he's waiting for my suggestions. And I also as I mentioned before, we have a current vendor that he's dealing with and the new vendor that wants to do business with him. And he hasn't decided yet what he's going to do, because the new vendor is giving him, different incentives, but he really likes who he deals with now, and a whole bunch of other different things. But that's not really why I'm here. Also, I'm not here to tell him how much to charge for each item or performer. You're probably looking at this and you're saying, "Oh boy, he's charging $1,000 for 6 TVs." I'm not here to judge or to give guidance on how much he's charging per item. We can sit here and talk about that for a whole nother presentation, but that's not what we're here for today. Today we're just here to see how many bookings he needs for each package in order to reach a goal profit for the year. Now, the reasoning for the new vendor, as I mentioned before also, is he doesn't own all of the items or the equipments that he would need to provide for each package. So for example, it's going to cost him $400 to provide 6 TVs, right? That's because if you look at this if statement, if the quantity that he's providing for the package is less than 2 TVs, then he's not going to charge anything because he owns 2 TVs. So it's not going to cost him anything to provide them. But anything more than 2 TVs, he's going to get charged $100 with his current vendors in order to rent those TVs for the party. All right? And that's why it's $400, and then the upcharge based off of how many TVs he's providing. Now, if you look and compare at the expense for the TV that the new vendor would be offering him, the new vendor is only charging him $50 per TV. So, like I said before, there's different incentives to make the switch to the new vendor. And, I'm sure just like you and I, we're looking at the profit, right? And you can see that there's a substantial difference in just the profit alone for each package, let alone the annual profit that each package would provide, right? It's about a $9,000, $8,000 and change difference with going with the new vendor. So, just looking at it, you can see it would be stupid not to go with the new vendor. But he wants to know, if I go with the old vendors, how many more parties am I going to have to book in order to pretty much reach the same annual profit if I went with the new vendors, right? Because if he goes to new vendors, this is how much he's making per package on the new package with the new vendor versus this. But let's take a look at the solver that I used to come up with the bookings, right? So if we go back to the first tab, right, we can see that I have annual bookings for each package, right? And then this would be the current vendor package number 3. So what I did was go to Solver, right? And I said, okay, I want the annual profit from each package with the current vendors to be, if not very close to 100,000. And then, as I mentioned before, the variable cells are in light blue, and those are the cells that were changing. And he had a lot of constraints that he wanted to abide by, some being that the annual profits, wanted to be 100,000 or very close to it. He didn't want more than 80 bookings per year. It's just a personal thing of his. He wanted the package one annual bookings to be less than or equal to 40% of package 2 annual bookings. And reason being is he didn't want to have, for whatever reason, more package 1 packages being sold versus package 2. Some other constraints that he had was that the package 3 bookings, he wanted at least 15% of these bookings to be annual bookings. So out of the 58 annual bookings, 15% of them had to be from package 3. And you get a feel for the types of constraints that he wanted. And it's his own managerial decision, so I just abide by it. And you can take a look here and just quickly see what I got going on, all the different constraints. So I followed the constraints, I solved, and that's how I got to these annual booking numbers. So from all the constraints that he gave me, he would need to book 9 package 1, 23 from package 2, and 26 parties from package 3 in order to reach an annual profit of just over 100,000, and the total annual bookings would be 58. This is all, again, with the current vendor. So if we compare this to the new vendor, 26 package 3 bookings with the current vendor, and he would only need to book 21 packages with the package 3 from the new vendor. And if you want to go back here, this is the cell for the new vendor, we have 46 parties would need to be booked in order to reach a little over 100,000 with the new vendor, and 58 bookings with the current vendors. So, you're looking at a pretty big difference. That's 12 parties. That's a lot for the throughout the whole year. He would need to book 12 more parties, and I'm sorry, he doesn't have to book as many parties going with the new vendor. He only needs to book 46 in order to reach that $100,000 goal profit, whereas he need to book 12 more with the old vendors that the current vendors that he's dealing with right now to reach pretty much the same profit. So it would be in his interest to go with the new vendor, just based off of quantitative analysis. Less bookings, more profit per package. And let's say he were to even book 58, right? Let's say he booked 58 packages with the new vendor. He's going to make even more money. So, just looking at this, I would personally have to go with making the decision to move with the new vendor. And that's all I have for you guys. So just a little backtrack. We used Solver to come up with an optimized solution of how many parties he needs to book in order to reach a $100,000 goal for the year, if he were to go with the new vendor or stick with the current vendors that he's dealing with. And I'm going to tell him what I think and see what he has to say. In the meantime, I hope you guys enjoyed the presentation. You were able to learn something from it. Any questions, please don't hesitate to ask. And look forward to sending a new one your way soon. Take care, guys.